All our leaders, how are you? Thank you so much for being here in this Hearthside session about DevRel leadership. I'm super happy and proud to have someone outside the design world, and we are speaking with Arturo Nereu, Head of Developer Relations at Unity. Unity is what he will tell us more, but Unity Technologies is an engine to create 3D experiences such as games, movies, and other great products. So, Arturo, thank you so much for being here and being a leader outside design speaking with us. How are you?
Thank you, Diego. I'm good. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I hope the stuff that I share is useful for other folks. But yeah, thank you.
Yes, so we will be speaking about four main topics is embracing ambiguity. Your job, such as mine, are like kind of where we can be a part of marketing, customer experience, product, research, design, so many teams, but it's hard to connect them all, right? So we will be talking about embracing ambiguity, navigating tech trends, building strong developer communities. You are in charge of dev relations and measuring DevRel impact. So measuring it's super important, and I think it's one of the hardest part of the job. So we will begin with embracing ambiguity. So Arturo, tell us more about your job and Unity, so the audience have a better context on what you do and why you do this.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm currently leading the developer relations team at Unity. I'm a manager now, so most of my time is doing management stuff, managing people, dealing with people problems, challenges at the level of the company. But for the past 7 years, I was in the field talking to Unity users, community members, and what I've been doing as a manager is trying to share that knowledge and trying to share those yeah, essentially that knowledge into the team so we can expand the impact that we have in the game development or we call it real-time 3D community. So yeah, that's what I do. To the other point that you say, it varies from day to day, the tasks, the projects, the people that I talk to, but essentially that's what I do.
So we have like three levels of leadership at World Leadership Company. It's emerging leaders, which might be someone like you who are leading a team for the first time. I don't think you apply to that term because you are leading almost a full department. Like it's not just a little team; it's like head of dev relations. So we have the established leaders. You have hired people. I think you have let go some people, not because you wanted to lay off, but they wanted to leave, they wanted to keep growing. And I want to ask you, now that you used to speak to users, right? When we met, you were talking to the actual developers, to the designers, and now you speak to producers, to owners, to entrepreneurs, to buyers, I guess. So how do you know to whom speak first? And by that I mean, like, of course, you are DevRel, but is your focus on customers or are you focused on users? Which I think most of the time they might be both. Like someone it's a user and a customer.
Yeah, that's a good question. And my answer is I try to speak to everybody because even if you know their title from LinkedIn or from their business card, that doesn't tell you much. Some people from small companies, they say they're CEOs, which is fine. But some people from big companies, they just say like, I'm an engineer. And it's hard to say like, okay, yeah, this person is going to be relevant. I'm happy that what we do doesn't really is tied to sales or adoption. Of course, we want to drive that, but ultimately, if I spend 1 hour talking to a student, and that student will go back to his or her university, and we'll start a game development club, and then we'll train or we'll get 20 developers excited about using Unity. 10 years from now, we'll have 10 Unity developers leading 10 companies, giving us money. Now, how can I track that? I don't. we haven't cracked that code. People changes, emails, and etc. So it's hard. So to answer your question is, I really don't have a formula on how to talk to. I've read books that say, oh, just focus on the people that drives more revenue, or the people that have a bigger impact. On paper, it's great. If I had a formula to know, like, oh, this person is going to drive revenue, yeah, I'm going to focus mostly on them. But if at one point they're already driving that much revenue, then probably they have a dedicated customer relations person, they have a dedicated marketing person, PR person. So, the impact that I can have, it's smaller than talking to other people. I still do that, but yeah, I honestly, I just try to speak to as many people as possible. I think that's the main thing about developer relations is building those things, finding opportunities to connect them to other people, and ultimately, if you because this has happened at the end, I feel like, oh, I just spent 30 minutes, and I don't think it was really worth maybe my time, but for the other person, maybe you made their day. Maybe they'll be like, oh, I talked to this person from Unity, and I'm not just bragging. I've had this experience so many times in the past. One example that I always bring up is there was this kid in Denver, and he showed me his game, and I spent like 2 hours with him. Of course, I didn't want to sell him anything or try to make him use any product or anything. It was just listening and spending time with him. And then 2 or 3 years, or maybe more, I don't remember, I met him at a university in California. I think it was a university. I'm not going to say which university, I don't remember. But he came back to me and said, like, oh, remember, I was this guy, this kid from Denver, and thanks to you, I applied to the ID at Xbox program, and my game is now released on Xbox, and it's great. So yeah, I think I've extended my answer, but I'll sum it up as I try to speak to as many people as possible, and yeah, I also, one last extension is, that's because I'm not tied to any other stuff, right? Like if my salary was tied to revenue, then probably I will be more careful about how I invest my time. I'm happily not tied to that, at least not via these interactions. So that's how I can do it, and that's what I try to make part of the team's culture, making sure that you're representing company, you're representing 8,000 other employees. So just make people feel good, and then the rest will come if it has to come, and if it won't, then it won't.
Okay, so you are part of marketing,
Yes, yes. The
and
team,
who are, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the team is part of the central marketing organization at Unity right now. I've seen other DevRel teams belonging to like product, belonging to like community, belonging to uh, the engineering. It really depends. There's no, I don't think there's one single way of doing that. But yeah, today we're part of the central marketing team. Or
Okay, okay, that's cool because we have seen, well, I have seen similar roles to you that belong to product, that belong to sales. I think a ton of engineers like you are in the pre-sales team. So that's another, I think it's similar to DevRel because you are teaching, you are letting people know how to use the product, but you are tied to sales, right? Like you can make a ton of money as an employee, but also you need to be like a professional both in sales and engineering. So Arturo, who are the teams you work with the most inside Unity?
yeah, that's a good question, and I guess it ties to the next theme of ambiguity. But I will I wouldn't be able to say like one, two, or three teams, because I just work with so many teams from product in different orgs. You mentioned like we support movies, and we support games, and we support automotive and industrial. Well, my main focus is games. One day I'm speaking to someone from this place to next place. One day we're talking with PR. Next day we're talking with engineering, product. So it's really hard to say. I would say, yeah, it goes from every internal facing, well, customer facing or user facing and internal teams. If I had to choose the top three, probably will be engineering, product, and product marketing. Those I think that those are the ones that usually in developer relations are working together. But we also work with events, community, social. So yeah, but that will be the answer.
So if you can hear from Arturo's answer that Unity, it's enormous. I think you mentioned 8,000 employees.
Yeah, I think so. I that's it really depends on the lenses that you're using, because if you look at I don't know, Microsoft or Alphabet, Google, you'll be like, oh no, Unity is just a small shop somewhere. I think it's big because when I joined, we were around 350
Mhm.
employees, 400. Now we're, yeah, I will say 8,000 or something. And yeah, definitely it's a big company. I used to know most of the people. Now every day I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't know this person. But yeah, I would say it's a large company. It's yeah, very distributed company. So
Okay, so for more context, I think Arturo has been at Unity for like 8 years,
9 years. I just turned 9 years.
9 years, and you heard that he joined when it was a small startup, and also another unique thing for Unity. Most tech companies work for everybody. Like they can work for finance, for tech, for medical, for all kind of industries. But Unity is great because they work with all kind of companies. For example, video game companies, movie companies, automotive companies, but also all sides of companies. Like you can be a single user of Unity and create your own game, your own experience, and you can be. Can you share a couple of names of big companies that work with Unity? I think Weta.
Well, we acquired Weta, the
Okay.
FX company. Well, the company that creates that technology. So now that's part of Unity. But yeah, there are, as you say, examples of one person building a game as part of their university, or even younger. There are a lot of examples, but I'm not sure which one will be like public. But let me actually, if you give me 1 second.
Yes, if we can have like a car company, because I kind of remember maybe Lamborghini, well, Volkswagen or something like that. And for me, that's really, really interesting because yes, tech companies work with everybody, but the size and the difference in industries and how one tool can serve to so many people and how this product makes everything more complex, such as having DevRel for product marketing, for product, for games, for automotive. Like you have to have like mini companies. For example, when I used to work at Envision, we have only one community person, right? And
Mhm.
now, well, the size is really different, but still like having their own mini company serving automotive, film industry, gaming industry. I think I don't know if you can share some of the other industries that you serve. For example, the gambling industry.
Yeah, I'm looking at the webpage because I don't know by heart the answers, but yeah, I'm looking at Volkswagen, Audi, Toyota. These companies using Unity. I'm not sure if they directly. Sometimes it's like their design teams or contractors. I really don't know, using these tools for those, for that industry. I'm also like the verticals that we support are architecture,
Mhm.
construction, automotive, manufacturing, energy, aerospace, retail, games. You're right. The gambling and regular entertainment, also film. So yeah, there's a lot of usage outside of just games of Unity.
Okay. Before we jump into the next topic, I want to ask you, when you joined uh, Unity, what was your title and to whom you were reporting to?
Yeah, I joined as a field engineer, which is kind of like pre-sales engineer. I was reporting to it was a different structure, but back then it was yeah, I guess a field engineering team lead when
Mhm.
I joined. So that was it was different from what I'm doing today. But yeah, we were part of the business development sales organization back when I joined Unity.
So, how has your leadership experience has been since 9 years ago? Because you have changed teams. You were part of the business development. Now you are part of marketing. I think you were part also of customer experience, maybe, or communities. So, in this shift of leadership, what have you learned that makes a leader such as you to create a team and to keep growing it? I don't know if you're scaling it. I think your team is like you work with 4 engineers or 5. Is how big is your team?
Yeah, right now we're 7 people plus
Okay,
myself.
that's a
People
good number.
working. Yeah, I think that leadership. Yes, you can get leadership thrown at you if you become a manager, because that's what you're paid to do, being a leader. Whether you're good or bad, that depends on you and your skills and experience. But the way I see leadership is mostly as you're a leader everywhere, and everyone can be a leader. Whether it's at home with your family, maybe it's you have a community where you live, or something. You can be a leader. You don't necessarily need to tell people what to do directly, but you can influence culture, you can influence actions, you can influence how people will react to certain things. So to me, that's leadership. The way I manage my team, or the way I think I manage my team, is it's in that way, trying to build a culture, trying to build processes, try to build a vision, so people can operate the way they feel more successful at. Because I also come from the doing what my team is doing right now. I was doing that for 6 years. So I'm not saying I know everything, but you know the struggles, some of the things that can make a difference to somebody's performance. So that's how I see leadership. Of course, I've learned a lot in the past 9 years or so. Mostly, I think it's communication, the way you say things, the way you receive things. A company such as Unity is very it's global, so we have I don't know the number, but I will assume a lot of people whose English is not their first language. So myself included. So maybe the way someone tells you something, the way someone says hello to you, for your culture might be like, oh, this person is being rude. But it's assuming that uh, that's how they are, and you cannot control how they say things, but you can control how you respond to those things, and also you can control how you communicate with people. So yeah, just to wrap up my answer, I will say it's the things that I've focused more on improving. It's communication, making sure that that improves, because with that you can lead, or be led as well. Not only it's about like doing what you want, but also recognizing, okay, that's a good idea, that's a good project. I'll just sit back and let the person who's more passionate about that, or who can make a bigger impact, drive this, and just support with what I can do to support.
Okay, thank you. You said two things that ring a bell. One is culture, because when a company is growing as fast as Unity, like you joined when there were fewer than 500 people, and now we are over 8,000, culture gets lost. I remember Arturo and I have met for a few years, And the way Unity behaved, it was a startup, right? And you, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a startup when I joined. It was a big company already, but yeah, compared to today, might be like that. But yeah, no, I joined after, so it was a big company then.
So what I'm trying to say is that Arturo saw the shift and the change of being. Uh, I, I I I think you have a ton of freedom to do and experiment with community, with building programs, with events, and adapting things that existed already. But now, are you in charge of creating new programs, new things? Because when we speak, you have told me, hey, we are hiring a team to develop this demo, or we are hiring someone to make this. So, of course, that means you have budget now, which is another challenge for leaders. Like you are not used to do that, and now you have budget. You are managing a client. I'm sorry, an studio. uh, so my
Well,
question is, yeah.
we've worked with external studios and partners to build game samples and products to showcase our stuff. So while I didn't manage them, their day to days, it was
Mhm,
part of
mhm.
what I did working with my team or times directly. Yeah, managing the production of those project products. Yeah.
Okay, so next topic, because ambiguity, it's amazing culture. I'm really interested about that. And you also just said about people not English not being their first language or their native language makes creates new challenges, but also gives this diversity and inclusivity vision for everybody to be more open to understand the markets. Because at the end, corporation it's interested in the bottom line, and if you have locals in the places, they might understand better. So we will be speaking about that in upcoming conversations. So please join us, and maybe Arturo will be a panelist, so he can tell us what's his point of view as being not a native speaker of English, but working for a US company, and how he is helping other leaders to emerge. So, next question, navigating tech trends. So, you get access to the user, like they tell you the things, right? Like maybe in private, like, hey, Arturo, Unity, it's terrible at this. Can you help us fix these? Can you help us? Can you lead us to the product team so we can speak to them? And the question is, how did you translate the user and customer needs into your team to have an impact?
Yeah, I think I don't have necessarily a framework on doing that because, as you say, we the team we get all sorts of feedback from feedback that's highly deeply technical, saying like on this platform, these things that we're using, we get this error. What can we do? And in some other cases, we just get people saying like, oh, I'm planning to get into games. I'm starting university. What would you recommend? So it's really difficult to have a single answer. What we try to do is have as many and back to the speak to everyone or as many people as you can and build as many relationships as you can, because in many cases we don't directly help, right? We help people find an answer, because if someone today, like I still try to use Unity, but if people ask me questions, deep technical questions, I might be like, oh, I didn't know that existed. So the way I will approach that is finding a contact in a team that is related to that and trying to get that user an answer. If it's more like a career thing, maybe doing the same, but with a team focusing on education and these type of things. If I can answer that, maybe I will do. So yeah, I think it's just having contacts, having a good communicate. I'm not saying I have it. I just think that's what helps. Having good communication. If you're asking someone for something, because at the end of the day, if you're helping a user, and you need something from an internal team, of course it's part of their job to help, right? But the way you ask, the way you present stuff as, oh, this can help this studio that will be successful with your product, then it's a different response than just saying like, oh, your thing is broken and this person is complaining, so fix it. So yeah, I think it's back to communication and relationships. Yeah, I'm not sure if I answered the question, but
Yes. You more context about Arturo. Arturo, when he was a field engineer, was meeting with smaller studios in Latin America. So he knows how to get his hands dirty, and he developed that sensitivity to understand how people ask questions and why they ask questions. And now I think as a leader, you might see you read in between lines when you speak to your team, right? Like, hey, if someone told you, hey, Arturo, uh, most people don't say, I don't know how to do this, but if you're fortunate enough to have in your team someone that, hey, I need this help because I don't know how to do that. And the question is, how do you I think you have like daily stand-ups with your team, but how do you answer the questions that they are not asking you? If that makes sense, like how much do you know? How do you? What questions do you ask, or what actions do you have so your team feels comfortable speaking with you, open to say, "Hey, I don't understand this. I don't know how to do this. I need your help." But they are also people that have egos, that have personalities, that don't want to be seen as weak or like, hey, I'm a fraud, right? Like we have a ton of people with imposter syndrome. And how do you create this safe space for them?
yeah, that's a good question. I'm gonna share what I do, but probably if you ask my team, they'll be like, "Oh, no, this is not what he says it is." But this is based, and this is how I operate. I always try to build. Or I've been trying to build a team that I would love to be part of when I was, an individual contributor. The same way I try to help Unity become a company, and I think it is. But the company that I will be, if I was external person, oh, I want to join that company, and the same for the games industry. I want to help, or I work in building an industry that I want to be part of. Whatever that means, that's very abstract, but maybe changes, small changes that I think, oh, having these will be great if I was part of this industry. So that's how I work. Um, I would just say that it's hard because when you are appointed a leader or a manager in this case, you get some sort of power, I will say, because at the end you have some more things that you can do than when you're not a manager, etc. But it's just being yeah, just trying to be a regular person, not trying to pretend. That's how we approach it. Not trying to pretend like you have more answers than you do. Showing that you're learning, because that's something that I
Mhm.
still feel like I need to learn every single day, find new teams, and sharing the processes of how I think, or how I operate to the team, so they're aware of, okay, yeah, this person is looking into this type of problems. So if I want to impress my manager, then I'll look into those problems. Or this person really likes people that think certain way, or values certain type of interaction, certain type of projects, then I'll focus on those. Or maybe you use that and say, I know this person loves that, but I don't think it's the right thing to do. So they can come and say, I don't think that's the right approach. And
Mhm.
yeah, I will just summarize that as showing that you're still learning, and Well, I think as a leader, as a manager, you need to step back and sometimes say like, okay, I won't be in the field as much as I would like to. I won't be using our software as much as I would like to. I still think you need to do that as part of your job, right? You cannot just leave people and saying telling people what to do if you haven't used your own tools in 10 years, or if you haven't met with your customers in 10 years and telling, oh yeah, this is how you do certain things. Oh yeah, but you haven't done that in 10 years. So you know, people change, the industry changes, and what do you know? So yeah, that will be my answer.
Okay, and this is the segue for our next topic about developer communities or building strong communities. And the first community is your team. So now that you are leading this DevRel um, team, do you still have do you still talk to the community, or are they the first contact? Like your team is the first contact to communities, and you are like, hey, you're like in a fast food restaurant. Hey, I wanted to speak to your manager, and they go for you.
No, I think and this is part of transferring the culture and just trying within the limits, because also the team, as small or big as it is, that we have a bandwidth limit. So you know, there are points where I think, okay, the team is already at their limit, or something. I'll take some of the tasks of their plate, but the first reaction is, okay, who from the team can become the leader at this community, who can be, who's the best person to help with this other community, with these contacts, etc. And we have, I think, a very diverse team. So we have a lot of people who, maybe because of a language, it makes more sense for somebody to go to talk to one group of people. Maybe because of the region where they are located at, it's better to send somebody else. um yeah, I try to do that. And this is another thing that we try to heavily do as well. And it's not like hoarding all the community contacts and being just like, oh, you know, it needs to be us. One thing that this year and last year we're working on is making sure that other folks within the company can also be the community leaders, right? There might be, and this recently happened, we had a community event, or it was a game jam in Malaga, Spain. The team was already busy. We couldn't attend, but we wanted to support them. And Unity has an office in Spain, so we worked with one of the engineers in Spain, who's really, their job is not to attend game jams and help people, etc. But they wanted to help. They wanted to help their own country or their own community, and we work with them. And hopefully, he's now the lead, or the leader for that community. He's the face of Unity in that region with them. So yeah, it's just whoever has bandwidth, time, also passion, because some people are more passionate about certain aspects, right? If there's a community that's focusing more on XR and VR, we have one person on the team who's like super passionate about that. So why would I try to do that if we have one person who's going to be a rock star, who's going to be also well appreciated by the community, because they'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen this person from Twitter, from YouTube videos. So yeah, but there are also times where that person might be busy, and we work with someone else to do that. But yeah, I guess now that I'm listening to myself, we don't have, well, we have our processes, but there's no golden rule on how we do stuff. It's really depending on the time, depending on the resources, depending on the multiple factors, and using that information to make the best decision. That's how I operate. Oh, I cannot hear you.
I'm sorry. Embracing ambiguity is one of your skills. Like you actually thrive, according to what we are hearing. You are capable of. creating plans, like fixing things, or at least try to fix them. So that's really, really fantastic. One off-topic question: how important do you think for a leader like you is to work not only in a company that you love, but also in products that you would love to use because you work in Unity for games. But what about if you were working at Unity for the automotive industry? Like, would you be as excited to, hey, let's see how Volkswagen builds a seat?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's important because I think I'm extremely lucky. I've been extremely lucky to be able to join a company. Before joining Unity, I I joined in 2014, I think. I was using Unity for 5 years, and I was teaching Unity at my university, and I was going to community events, and I was working on games using Unity. So it was my dream job, and for random things, I ended up here. But I also will say that this is not something that the vast majority of the world can achieve, right? Like, we all have maybe a dream job, etc., but there's a limited amount of
Mhm.
places that are hiring, and in complex times such as right now, it's even harder, and it depends on so many factors outside of what you can about you can you can control. uh, so what I think is, it's you need to detach from your job, your day to day, what you get paid for, from your passion. Because yes, I'm passionate about Unity, I'm passionate about games, but I don't make games anymore. I don't use Unity 9 to 5 anymore. So you will say, okay, yeah, this is my dream job on paper. Like, somebody
Mhm.
listening to this conversation will be like, oh yeah, it will be great playing games all day and using the software you like all game. But actually, I think I use less Unity now that way before joining Unity, and that sucks. Well, yeah, but I my passion, as I said, is it's games, is it's rendering technology. So the conversations I have with users are the way that fit this passion, right? So if I was working on a different industry, or maybe a different company, I think I will still be doing stuff that I do on my free time, because again, I'm fortunate enough that my passion and my hobby are my job as well. Some people might say, "Oh, yeah, that's bad because now you don't have a real hobby and everything is work." But to me, from my experience, from what I think, it's winning the lottery, because
Mhm.
I I don't feel like I'm ever working. It's always fun. There are challenges. There are, of course, times where I'm like,
Wait, because we will be asking about challenges, but
oh, okay, okay. But yeah, I will say, detach your passion from, or your dreams from reality, because yeah, from externally you'll see people on social media showcasing just the 10 seconds of their lives, that are, and this happens to me as well, that you feel like, oh, that person's thriving, and I wish they could do that. But I don't think it's real. I think yeah, you can have one amazing day, and then 2 days will be terrible, and then another one week where everything is great. So yeah, I think it's detaching what's just a dream from what's the reality, and trying to feel that passion one way or the other. One thing that I feel is being smart about how you invest your time, the project
Mhm.
take on, and value one thing over the other, right? Because you might want to take on a project just to impress your manager or someone, but that's going to take away time, even at work, that you could use to work on another project that maybe your manager won't care as much, but it will drive more of that passion of you, and help users, or help whatever. So yeah, it's making decisions. And yeah, I would just say that, because even when I'm saying like I this is a jackpot, I just said, right, like my passion, it's kind of my job, but in reality, I don't do that 9 to 5. Like I right now I'm not using Unity. Probably it's almost noon. Probably I won't open the editor today. I'll be working on other stuff, but maybe tomorrow I'll find some time to play around with some stuff. Or in 2 weeks, I'm going to go to an event talking to developers, and while I'm not building a game, talking to them feels that passion of, oh wow, it's so cool seeing games and how they're developed. So yeah, long answer, sorry, but
No, that's fantastic. But we are almost on time, and I want to ask you some final questions, like quick questions.
yeah.
Uh, one is, what is the challenge that you have solved in the last 6 months as head of developer relations at Unity that you are the most proud about?
um I would say, and you mentioned this, two members of the team decided this year to leave the company. Those were great opportunities for them, and I honestly, and I told them this, like, as a friend, I think you have to do that. As a coworker, it's going to suck. It's going to, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to it's going to be challenging to execute with two less people while we backfill those roles. But I will say it's that same word, detaching, and saying, like, this will make them happier, and you create a friendship with them. So in the end, if you down the road look at them and their families and their lives, and you're like, oh, that was great. But yeah, at first it's challenging to see, like, oh, what should I try to ask them to stay and offer more of these, more of that, less of these, less of that. But in the end is no, no, I think that's what makes more sense for them. And the other thing is nothing is set in stone, and they taught me this, is like, oh, you can come back in 2 years or 3 years, or maybe we work at a different company, or maybe you hire me, and it's not the end of the world. So that's something that I feel proud of. And yeah, most of the team members now are people who decided to change their careers and trusting the a path in developer relations. So that's another thing that I feel it was good, because it's not just convincing them, but working with them in putting together a plan, a path. So it makes sense to switch your career from full-time engineer to developer advocate. So those that will be what I'm proud of.
I like that even if it's a professional challenge, it's still really, really human. Like losing your, not your family, but your friends at work. So the next
Yeah.
question is, what is the biggest challenge you are facing right now? If you can share that. And your answer, I want you to be like, how the community from world leadership could help you. Like if you could ask them to the Arturo, like CMO of something at Unity, that might be your manager, but someone that, like, if you can ask, I'm sorry, if you have the challenge, if you're facing a challenge and someone from the community could help you, what's the question you will ask?
Yeah, I will say is how how will how do you prove that your team's activities, your team's effort, your team's energy contributes to the larger scale of or the larger objectives of the, I'm not going to say just the company, of the world, of the
Mhm.
community, humanity, etc. Because yeah, as an individual contributor, sometimes you wake up and say, like, why am I doing this? I'm going to, am I contributing to someone? So I, I would like to hear ideas on how or perspectives on how they manage this challenge. How can you showcase that people's efforts and people's time contribute to the larger good of company or the group they're part of.
Okay, thank you so much. So Arturo, is there anything else you want to share with me and the community? And also, what is the best way to be connected with you, and how can you help others?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate people's time in listening to me. I will just say, as I always tell people, like, take what I say with a grain of salt. I might be completely wrong about how I approach all the themes that we've just talked about, but we're all learning. Yeah, I'm learning, and yeah, if there's anything I can do to support anyone, just feel free to reach out to me. Maybe Twitter is the best way. It's Arturo Nereu, my name. Also LinkedIn, the same thing. But yeah, I really appreciate people's time and your time as well, Diego, and the invite. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Diego. I'm the founder of World Leadership Co. So please, if you want to know more about leadership, connect with me on LinkedIn, on my website, which is worldleadership.co. And please let me know how we can support you and keep advancing the leadership practice around the world. So thank you so much. See you next time.